Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the December 9th, 2020 meeting of the Hyde Park Zoning Board of Appeals. Will each member of the board confirm that he is alone or that no one is present that may influence his vote? As called, please respond yes or no. Linda, will you poll the board, please?
Brendan Lawler,
Yes.
Rich Perkins,
Yes.
David McNary,
Yes.
James Agrawal,
Yes.
Herbert Sweet.
Yes. I have confirmed with the zoning board's counsel that tonight's meeting has been convened in accordance with the governor's March 13, 2020 Executive Order 202.1 and its extensions, which suspend certain provisions of the open meeting law to allow a municipal board to convene a meeting via video conferencing. In accordance with the executive order, the public has been provided with the ability to view tonight's meeting, and a transcript will be provided at a later date. I've done a roll call of the board members, and there is a quorum present for this meeting. I've also confirmed with the zoning secretary that this meeting has been duly noticed. We have fulfilled our legal notice requirements by posting notice on the town's bulletin boards and news organizations, etc., and posting notice on the town's agenda center of its website. We will now commence with the Pledge of Allegiance. Because of audio, you may only hear me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands,
One
nation, under God, indivisible, liberty, and justice for all. So our next meeting will be on Wednesday, January 27th, 2021. Already. Where do the decades go? So I need a motion to approve the minutes for the November 17th meeting, our last meeting.
I move their approval.
And David
Second.
McNary moves it, and Brendan Lawler seconds it. Secretary, please poll the board.
Brendan Lawler,
Yes.
Richard Perkins,
Yes.
David McNary,
Yes.
James Agrawal. James,
He's muted.
okay,
Yes.
okay, Herbert Sweet,
Yes.
motion carried.
Okay. So the first item on our agenda is the locust on the Hudson. And just a quick summary. This is to allow construction within the stream corridor. Everybody's in the stream corridor tonight. Changing the undisturbed area from 100 feet to 0 feet for construction incursion in the waterfront district. And I don't believe we have any representatives here now. Just for anyone who's watching, just a quick summary of where this application stands. We closed the public hearing on July 22nd. We'd received written comment. We're now waiting on the applicants to send us an environmental assessment form, and we haven't received it yet. So we continue to wait. You might unmute yourself, Tan. We may be talking to you tonight. So I guess that's the full status. I don't think I have anything more to add, unless you do, Tan, or you, Patrick.
Nope, that's it for now.
Okay, so we're just waiting. All right. Well, now for something more engaging. We have an application from Jennifer Mastriani, and there she is. Nice smile.
Thank you.
This is 9 Gary Drive, a variance from section 108 4.3b5 to conduct animal husbandry in a location less than the required 250 feet from all neighboring residences, and the storage of manure in a location that is less than the required 200 feet from all neighboring residences and from all wells in the neighborhood district. The public hearing was closed at our last meeting. Have any additional public comments been received?
No, they have not.
Thank you. And do we have any questions from the board?
I do not.
Okay. And any questions from the zoning officer?
No.
I'm trying to remember, was there an email that somebody had wanted read into the record?
I don't
remember seeing one.
Okay.
remember either.
I don't
That
recall,
might have been from the last month, Ted.
Okay.
perhaps. In any case, if anybody's concerned about their emails, they're all part of the record. Whether we read them or not, they're all there. And you can always look at them. Just call Ted. And any comments from our attorney?
I'm just going to clarify that when you said whether you read them or not, you meant whether you read them out loud during the meeting.
Of course we read them.
Otherwise, no comments.
Yes. Yes, I could say certain prior administrations I would attribute not reading correspondence, but we'll save that for our next meeting at the saloon. So I'm going to make the motion, and we're going to go through the whole thing because I want everybody to understand what's been involved and exactly what's going on. I will summarize a little bit here and there. So this is resolution 20-17Z. Whereas the applicant Jennifer Mastriani is seeking a variance from section 108-4.3B5 to conduct animal husbandry in a location less than the required 250 feet from all neighboring residences. And the storage of manure is in a location that is less than the required 200 feet from all neighboring residences. And the storage of manure is in a location that is less than the required 200 feet from all wells on a property located at 9 Gary Drive, identified as tax parcel number in the neighborhood district. And whereas on September 23rd, 2020, the applicant submitted a diagram, which we refer to in the rest of this as the diagram, showing the following residences are within 250 feet of the area where animal husbandry is being conducted. And then they're all listed, addresses and tax ID. Whereas the diagram shows the following residences, somebody has their speaker on. Now I'm picking up some feedback, so everybody pay attention. Whereas the diagram shows the following residences that are within 200 feet of the location where the manure is being stored, which is the sealed refuse container, and I list those. And whereas the diagram shows the following wells, everybody please check your microphones because there's feedback coming through here. Whereas the diagram shows the following wells are within 200 feet of the location where the manure is being stored, and I list them. Whereas the diagram shows the existing 8 by 12 square foot pen and the 5 by 10 square foot coop and the proposed 20 by 40 square foot pen are located the maximum distance from the 9 neighboring residences within 250 feet. And whereas the diagram shows the location where the manure is being stored is at the maximum distance from the 4 neighboring residents within 200 feet. And whereas the diagram shows the location where the manure is being stored is at the maximum distance from the 5 wells within 200 feet. And whereas on a field trip made by the ZBA board chairman on November 9th, which we'll call the visit, it was observed that the existing coop and pen are structured to confine the chickens. And whereas on the visit, it was observed that the existing number of chickens is 6 and no roosters were present. And whereas on the visit, it was observed that the existing coop was attractively painted. And whereas on the visit, it was observed that odor was undetectable other than in the immediate vicinity of the coop and pen where it was slight. And whereas on September 23rd, 2020, ZBA meeting, the applicant stated that the chicken varieties being kept are birds in the 2-pound range. And whereas the November 17, 2020 ZBA meeting, the applicant stated that she mixes the manure with wood shavings, and our measurements have shown The 6 2-pound chickens produce about 2 pounds of manure per week, including uneaten chicken feed. I know you don't want to hear that. Whereas in a telephone conversation with the ZBA chairman, the Dutchess County Department of Health Communicable Diseases Specialist, Andy Evans, advised that their concern for communicable diseases is for chickens is only for large commercial-sized operations. Let me take a breath. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Zoning Board of Appeals makes the following findings in accordance with Section 267B of the Town Law and Hyde Park Zoning Law, Section 108-33B, 33-6B2, regarding the requested variance. The granting of the requested variance will not produce an undesirable change in the character of the neighborhood or detriment to nearby properties. Please turn your mics down, folks. It's reverberating. The chicken coop is attractively painted and is secluded in the backyard. There is little noise and odor from the 6 chickens, even in the immediate vicinity of the coop and pen. There is a small amount of manure, and it is stored in a conventional sealed refuse container and removed weekly. The benefits sought by the applicants cannot be achieved by some method feasible for the applicants to pursue other than an area variances. The requested 18 variances for conducting of animal husbandry are substantial numerically, but the effects of keeping the 6 2-pound chickens will be barely noticeable. The requested variance will not have an adverse effect or impact on the physical or environmental conditions in the general neighborhood or district for reasons previously stated. The difficulty is self-created. Be it further resolved that the Zoning Board of Appeals hereby grants the requested variance subject to the following conditions. 1, the pen will be expanded to 40 feet by 20 feet to meet requirements specified in 108-4.3B5C. Just a moment, need a space here. Up. Okay. The maximum number of chickens is to be 6. The manure will be removed at least once a week. There'll be no roosters, and payment of all fees. So, will the secretary please poll the board? Oh, hold on. I forgot to ask for a second.
Sorry. Okay,
David McNary, who's muted, raised his hand,
okay. David,
and we'll write him down. Okay.
Brendan Lawler,
Yes.
Richard Perkins,
Richard Perkins is muted. We don't know how he voted.
Herbert Sweet.
Yes.
Okay,
Okay, yes,
and Herbert Sweet. Oh,
yes.
Okay,
Did you get them all?
No.
yes,
I thought we left Jim out. Go ahead, Jim.
Yes.
I thought I heard him. I'm sorry. Okay, we're good. Thank you.
Okay. Well, Mrs. Mastrioni, we made it, didn't we?
Yay! Thank you so much for everyone's help. You guys were awesome to work with.
Okay.
Good
Thank
luck.
you. Have a great night.
Thank you guys.
I think you might have set some kind of a record. 18 variances. Let's see.
When you said that, I was a little shocked.
That turns out to 3 variances per chicken.
See? That's true. They're a lot of work, those little chickens. Thank you guys again. Have a great night.
Thank you. Good luck and
And-
have a good holiday.
And they
Thank
don't-
you. You too, guys.
And they don't even appreciate it.
That's right.
Okay, well, we won't be seeing you too soon. And now we're off to our next application.
Herb?
That is, yes, who's speaking?
It's me. Who seconded that? Who did the second on that?
I did. Jim.
Okay, thanks, Jim.
Oh, good.
Sorry, thanks.
That's okay. That's okay. Glad you asked. Okay, our next application is Robin Hughes G. And I believe she's here. This is a variance from from section 108, 5.15, changing the front yard setback from 50 feet to 30 feet and changing the rear yard setback from 30 feet to 27 feet for new construction between two existing porches in the neighborhood district. The public hearing was closed at our last meeting. Have any more public comments or any public comments been received?
No, they have not.
Okay. Mrs. Hughes G, I believe you're here somewhere.
I am.
There she is.
Speaker's not working. I can barely hear you. I'm having to put my phone to my ear.
Okay. Well, let's see. So do we have any questions from the board?
No.
Okay. Any comments from the zoning officer? Okay. Any comments from the attorney?
No.
Okay, so Mr. Lawler will make the motion.
All right. Resolution to grant area variance. Robin Hughes G, 3 Bircher Avenue, Poughkeepsie, New York, 12538. Date December 9th, 2020. Resolution number 20-19Z. Whereas the applicant, Robin Hughes G, has submitted an application for an area variance from section 108-5.15 to change the front yard setback from 50 feet to 30 feet and to change the rear yard setback from 30 feet to 27 feet for construction of a deck between two existing porches in the neighborhood district. And whereas the house was built in 1932 prior to the establishment of zoning in Hyde Park, and whereas the lot is small, being only 0.12 acres, and whereas the deck is placed over an existing deteriorated concrete patio, and whereas the deck is located between two existing porches. Now therefore be it resolved that the Zoning Board of Appeals makes the following findings in accordance with section 267-B of the town law and Hyde Park zoning law, section 108-33.6B2 regarding the requested variance. Number 1, the granting of the requested variance will not produce an undesirable change in the character of the neighborhood or a detriment to nearby properties. The deck will be an improvement both in appearance and in safety. 2, the benefits sought by the applicant cannot be achieved by some method feasible for the applicant to pursue other than by an area variance. 3, the requested variance is numerically substantial. However, its unique placement between two porches makes it barely noticeable. 4, the requested variance will not have an adverse effect or impact on the physical or environmental conditions in the general neighborhood or district for reasons previously stated. The covering of the deteriorated concrete will instead be an improvement. Number 5, the difficulty is self-created. Be it further resolved that the Zoning Board of Appeals hereby grants the requested variance subject to the following conditions. 1, payment of all fees.
May I have a second to the motion?
Second.
And Dave McNary seconds. Secretary, please poll the board.
Jim Agrawal,
Yes.
Brendan Lawler,
Yes.
David McNary,
Yes.
Rich Perkins,
Yes.
Herbert Sweet.
Yes.
Motion carried.
So, Mrs. Hughes G, you're finished with us. You don't have to put your
Okay, thank you very
next to
much.
the computer anymore.
Good luck.
Good luck, and hope not to see you soon.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Okay, our next application is Hudson Valley Hospic. And I believe we have some folks representing. This is variance from section 108-5.15, changing bulk regulation scale from 6,000 square feet to 30,000 square feet for a residential care facility in the neighborhood core district. And may I have a motion to continue the public hearing?
Make a motion.
And a second?
Second.
Second.
David McNary seconds first. Secretary, please poll the board.
Brendan Lawler,
Yes.
Richard Perkins,
Yes.
David McNary,
Yes.
Jim Agrawal,
Yes.
Herbert Sweet.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Okay, since our last public meeting, the scale variance has been fluid, but at the moment it's back to where we started, 30,000 square feet. In addition, we've received and obtained materials on the New York State Department of Health requirements for hospice facilities. The planning board is reviewing numerous issues, in particular water being piped to the site. We'll only be able to proceed with the resolution after the planning board has completed seeker. And then after we're done, if we produce a positive resolution, then the planning board will do the site plan. And okay, so I don't want to get too far ahead of myself. We received an email today from Susan DeGilio expressing concerns about water, construction, and traffic. And I forwarded that to the planning board, and they should be folding it into their seeker and site plan reviews, because we're focused on the very narrow issue of scale. So have we received any other public comments?
No, we have not.
Thank you. Okay, Mr. Kaminsky, you're here in the Hollywood Square somewhere. Or
I'm here.
there you are. I see your associates. And so you have anything that you'd like to add?
I would like to let the board know that the New York State Department of Health and the planning board, the planning council of New York State officially approved our application to be able to build and operate this 14-bed hospice unit. So that's a major hurdle that we've gotten over today. Now, that's not meant to influence the board, but you need to know that, you know, the state's looking over our shoulder as well as the town.
Yeah, there's lots of permissions in well, basically the more commercial and the larger the application, the more agencies are involved. We're accustomed to that. So, but thanks for telling us anyway. Okay, so let me ask if there's anyone in the Zoom waiting room that wishes to speak.
There is not.
Okay. So there's not much more we can do at this point, other than field questions from the public as they pop up. And in many cases, like today, the public not understanding the subtleties between the planning board and the zoning board. Most of these are going to be planning board concerns, and so we'll send them there as they come in, unless they deal with scale. A very, very narrow issue that we're dealing with. So other than that, I'm just going to wrap up and say that the ZBA will accept public comments until 10 days following the close of the public hearing. They should be sent to ZBA Secretary at 4383 Albany Post Road, Hyde Park, New York, or emailed to zbasec@hydeparkny.us. So may I have a motion to continue the public hearing?
Motion, Jim Agarwal.
Jim Agarwal makes the motion. May I have a second? And Brendan Lawler seconds. And the secretary, please poll the board.
Brendan Lawler,
Yes.
Richard Perkins,
Yes.
Dave McNary,
Yes.
Jim Agrawal,
Yes.
Herbert Sweet.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Nice seeing you folks again. And we'll stay in touch, I'm sure.
You guys.
Herb, real quick.
Yes, go ahead.
Todd, were you raising your hand?
I was probably going to say what you're going to say.
Why don't you go ahead?
I don't think you set the date for the next public hearing. What date is this meeting continued until?
That's a good point. It's continued until our next meeting, January 27th.
Thank you.
I'll try and remember that in the future. It's good I have a bunch of reminders here. We might really go down the wrong path. Okay. So we will see you folks on January 27th.
Okay.
Have a nice holiday.
You too. Have a nice
Take care.
holiday, everyone. Thank you.
Congratulations on your application approval.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay. Just hope this thing gets done before I have to go.
Get a reserved room there.
Have a bottle?
Well, we already reserved this room.
There you go.
Okay, next application. Floyd Holt and Evelyn Holt This is a variance from 108, 4.3G2 to allow construction of a new driveway within the 100-foot stream corridor, varying from 100 feet to 0 feet in the neighborhood district. May I have a motion to continue the public hearing?
So move.
And that was
Second.
Dave McNary moving and Richard Perkins seconding. And now it's time for the vote.
Brendan Lawler,
Yes.
Richard Perkins,
Yes.
Ed McNary,
Yes.
Jim Agrawal,
Yes.
Herbert Sweet.
Yes. So in an offline conversation, Mr. Berger indicated that he had been conducting his septic field testing and was working with the Dutchess County Department of Health representative and expects approval. The water line, electrical line, and cable line will be routed 5 feet under the driveway and under the culvert through conduits. A response from the area fire chief was expected in regards to the need for fire truck turnaround at the house end of the driveway. The driveway has been redirected to minimize its impact to the stream corridor. This is a very late development. And let me ask if we have our representative here.
Yes, I'm here.
And who we have here tonight, Joe?
Joseph Berger.
Good, Mr. Berger. So we'll start off. Let me ask you if you have any updates. There's a lot of last minute correspondence, and it may not have been reviewed by everyone.
Okay.
So, give us a little summary of all the changes and responses and what have you.
Well, since last time, as you mentioned, we went out there and did percolation and a deep test to move the septic design forward. And I'm comfortable in moving forward with it. We show where the field will go as we move forward with the approval with the health department. Also, we had comments from the public concerning the length of drive. So I re-looked at it one more time, walked the field, and selected a different location for the crossing, which reduced the drive down to only 232 feet inside of the 100-foot corridor. The minimum would be 200 feet, obviously, because it's 100 feet either side. I need a slight skew, as you can see on the plan, in order to get down the grade and to avoid the knoll that's right directly in the path if I went straight through. So we minimized it as much as possible as I can see the length. We also worked with the town engineer to do additional drainage studies. We looked downstream and upstream to come up with what we feel is a comprehensive drainage evaluation. And we feel really comfortable with our evaluation that we've increased the culvert size to accommodate a larger storm and to also accommodate the habitat and aquatic movement of animals, as one of the concerns here is some of the habitat that could migrate down the stream corridor. What our proposal is keeping with Army Corps and DEC standards for design typically, and quote out of the Army Corps manual and the DEC, to maintain low flow and aquatic-like movement within culverts. The bottom of the culvert is to be embedded. What that means is the culvert, 2/10 of the height of the culvert should be under the bed. So there's a bed in the culvert. Our culvert is 2 feet tall. So 2/10 of the culvert will be below the existing bottom of the swale, so that material will accumulate and we'll have a natural bottom on the culvert to simulate existing storm conditions. The width of the culvert being 10 feet wide would be more than enough to allow habitat to wander through as it does now down the corridor. So we feel we've accommodated those. Again, the water is going down the driveway and will be under the culvert through a conduit, as the telephone and electric will also go down the road and under the culvert through a conduit.
So the culvert, is this an arch culvert or a round culvert?
It's a rectangular. It's going to be it's a concrete one because
So it's a box culvert.
the box culvert. The reason we're picking a box culvert is it's with this type of construction in a stream, we want to dig out the area very easily, which we can do, and then immediately put some bedding down Then we'll put the conduit underneath, and then we could put the culvert right on top without having to have any compaction issues because it's a box culvert. Compact around it immediately, and then it'll be more sturdy. We feel more comfortable with the concrete box culvert than an arch culvert.
Okay, so your box culvert will be below, how far below the level of the stream?
Only 2/10.
Okay, okay,
That way, it's 20% of the height of the actually 20% of the height of the stream, but usually use 20% of the height of the culvert. It's a 2-foot high culvert, so it's 2/10. It may be 22/100 by the time you put it in there and level it out. And then we have stone riprap upstream and downstream to minimize any disturbance, and that will over time be filled in with the natural soils from the stream. Also, to protect the site, we're putting silt fences around it, and we're putting stone on the slopes around the box culvert so that we'll have a stabilized slope that won't erode. And as per the request of the town engineer, which I totally agree with, we're putting 2 wood guide rails on either side of the culvert to protect. And we made the driveway a little wider at the culvert so that there's room for snow and for fire truck access through it, so it's a little wider. I also forgot we actually added a pullover too, as requested by the ZBA, so that cars coming down the driveway have a place to pull over right at the bridge or the culvert, whatever you want to call it, before reaching. And we widened the driveway at the end for additional area. That's. See if there's any other questions.
I have one additional question that in a lot of or in some of the parts of the driveway, it's elevated. You can see from the embankments on the diagram.
Yes.
You're gonna have guardrails there?
Only down. We're only gonna have the guardrail down by the stream because it's really on. We have a 1-on-2 slope, and it's a couple of feet off each side of the edge of the drive, and the drive's 12 feet wide. I didn't see the need to run it all the way up, only in the area where if they went off, they would go into the stream. So we're running the guide rail on either side of that for a sufficient distance back from the stream.
so the height of the driveway coming down is how far above the ground? How much? I guess I'm trying to get you what Herb is talking about in terms of the slope. How much, what's the height of that slope on the driveway, just as you come down off of the?
Okay, so if we start at the road, it's actually pretty much at grade. At the maximum, which would be about 100 feet back out, it's 6 feet. Then it drops down to being almost at grade at 200 feet. And then it starts going back up again at the culvert. It's 5.2 feet.
Okay.
So it's really, there's only one high spot, and that's in the middle. And then as it goes up into the house, it's at grade. So above the culvert, where we will have a guide rail, it's 5.2 to about 6. Then in the middle, it's cutting through that knoll that you can see right there. There's a knoll right in the center. It's cutting through that, so it'll be actually taking some of that down. And then as it's rising back up to the main road, there's a small section that's about 7 feet, 6.5, 7 feet.
Okay.
But we have a nice, I think, 1-on-2 slope, and we have a pretty wide driveway.
Okay.
I guess what had concerned me is my own personal experience with my driveway. And I found that when it was put in, because everything wasn't exactly flat, we had a little ice in the driveway, and it's very easy to slide off. And I solved that problem myself by having some folks come in and put in some soil so you couldn't slide off the driveway. But in a case where you have an elevated driveway and embankments on either side, I'd be a little bit nervous about driving down that driveway if it was any ice on it. This can't be a unique situation. So other than telling people to be careful, shouldn't we do something to protect them?
Herb, can I chime in on this one?
Sure. Who's that?
Pete Sotero.
Oh, yes. I'm very glad to hear you, Pete. Go ahead.
Okay. So some of the details that, you're talking about, we're gonna, assuming that the zoning board grants the variance for the encroachment into the buffer of the stream, a lot of the things that we're talking about now in terms of the need, for guide rail, maybe is the driveway wide enough? A lot of those details are going to be worked out along with Tad during our finalizing of the soil and erosion control permit. I tried to concentrate now on the the merits of the stream crossing, and then also just to try to get a handle on the storm drainage calculations for the size of the pipe. I assume that the zoning board members got a copy of my memo that I issued on Monday.
Mhm.
So if I could just go over like a couple things in there.
Mhm. Please.
So as far as the crossing goes, I pointed out in there that really the spot they have now for the house and for the septic system is really the only spot that it can be located here. The restrictions, like today, are a lot different than they were back in the early 80s. I went on parcel access to see when some of the other houses on either side of this property were built. They were built in 1980, 1981. The health department regulations were different then. And, I don't know that some of those houses could have been built in the location that they are like today if they had to like abide by the most current regulations. And, plus the fact that this property right up in the front does have a small piece of Army Corps wetlands there. So the property is pretty boxed in. So, I don't know that there's much that can't be done in order to cross, the stream to, allow some type of development here. And, I went out to the site yesterday because I hadn't been up here, in years. And, many of the other houses that are in this area do have houses on the other side of the stream. So that was my input there. And then, the drainage, as I said in my memo, Joe had proposed an arch culvert there, and based upon the calculations that he did, and this is a very large upstream watershed that contributes to this pipe. So, once you look at either a 25-year rainfall event, which is 5 inches of rain over a 24-hour, period, which is a lot. And then Joe did take a look at the 100-year storm, which I believe Joe is 8 over 24 hours.
Correct.
Yeah. So that's like a lot of rain. So in both of those rainstorm events, because of the fact of the driveway that's creating a dam, obviously, and then you put a pipe in it. And so in Joe's calculations on the arch pipe, the peak water elevation was approximately 220. So there'd be some ponding of water behind, the culvert. Well, the elevation of the stream at the upstream property line, I don't know what north and south is here. I think that would be the eastern.
North is right.
That's
Yeah.
the north property line. This is
North property line. Okay, sorry. So right there at the north property line, the elevation of the property line is elevation of the stream at the property line is about 217.
Correct.
So if you got a backwater elevation of 220 right at the driveway, well, that's obviously going to be ponding on the upstream property, and we can't have that condition, obviously. So I've been working back and forth with Joe, and I know Joe came up with something today, and he handed in. I just didn't have an opportunity to look at anything today, but I'm confident that we can come up with something that's going to be acceptable and make sure that there's not going to be any backwater that would impact any of the neighbors. So those are my two areas that I had looked at for you guys.
So, Pete, you're comfortable that the box culvert, which actually will give more capacity than the arch culvert, would be sufficient for whatever storm we might run into?
Well, I have to look at it, David. I mean, again, those calculations just came in today.
Okay.
And, you know, that obviously 2x10, you know, box culvert does have much more capacity than the arch culvert. So, you know, we'll look at it. And, but I'm, you know, sure we can, you know, come up with something here.
The other part of this is, which is not a part of our variance, is really the construction of the driveway coming down. And you're comfortable with what has been, what Joe is talking about in terms of the elevation of the, and the slope of that driveway, particularly coming down into the, toward the stream.
Yeah, you know, the slope of the driveway doesn't exceed any of our town codes. You know, for driveway, Joe does show he's going to have erosion control measures. And again, those are some things that both Tad and I are going to work with him on as we complete our review of the erosion and sediment control plan. And so there are still some more like details to be worked out. They'll have to be, in order to install, you know, the culvert, there'll have to be a dewatering plan because they have to keep the stream dry while they're doing, you know, the work. So there'll have to be some sandbags or something else that's put upstream, and probably like a pump that's going to have to pump around the area that they're going to work in. So those are all, you know, details that we're going to have to work out still. But, you know, again, you know, at this point, we're at the, you know, the variance point for the buffer.
Good. Thank you, sir.
Sure.
Okay. Well, I was going to ask you anyway, Pete, so thanks for that. Neil, do we have anyone from the public that wishes to speak? Hello, Neil.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Is there anyone that would like to speak?
Yes. Richard Maddox is here. Richard, are you with us?
Yes.
You want to scroll that up so we can see something besides Joe's seal? Good, excellent, thanks.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, now we see each other again. So, Mr. Maddox, what do you have to tell the board this evening?
Could we have that schematic back up on the screen? And not that I don't want to see your pretty face there, but has everybody
flattery will get you nowhere, Richard.
The memo that I sent, everybody has a copy of that?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yes.
Then everybody will understand how much I believe the wildlife is going to be jumping up and down with glee for the attention that you gave to their habitat. I thought that was attended to quite nicely, and thank you very much for your attention to that. The 2x10 culvert, I presume that's going to cover, be able to carry a fairly significant storm event. On the memo that I sent, these are the most recent charts I have for storm events. And I believe these have been adjusted since Sandy. So these are the numbers that I think I would probably like to hear from the engineers, whether they're going to be accomplished. A 100-year storm, a 500-year storm, will that culvert be able to handle it without risk of overtopping the driveway?
We're using the 25 and 100-year storm, which are the standards for the EC and Army Corps.
And what is the precipitation event that you're envisioning? How many inches? During what period of time? 25, during what period of time?
The 24-hour storm is what we typically use. That's the DEC standard that we use, a 24-hour storm.
Well, it's 5 inches of rain, right, Joe, in a 25-year storm over.
It's 8 for a 100-year. I think it's actually 6 we're using for.
Oh, is it? Okay.
Now we're using, it used to be 5. We're now updating it to 6 for the new climate standards. Maybe even 6 1/4. I gotta look at that, but it was 5, and with all these new standards, we went to a higher one, which just so we made sure we were using the higher numbers.
So Joe, we're using 6 for the 25-year. Is that correct?
Let me check on that. I know we went to a higher number.
It's either going to be 5 or 6 for the 25-year,
It
and
was 5, and I know we looked at some new ones that came out.
And then what does it go up to for a 100-year, Pete?
8.
Okay.
There we go here.
While you're, Pete, have you done, you undoubtedly have done a fair amount of calculations on hydraulic flow through culverts and stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
Could you perhaps, I don't know the extent of other people's understanding of this, but could you talk a little bit about the significance of flow during a 2-inch rainfall, I'm sorry, a 2-hour rainfall event and a 24-hour rainfall event number? How does that influence the culvert size, the quantity of water that has to be dealt with in a drain, in a culvert?
Well, a 2-inch storm under you're talking about 2-hour storm versus 24-hour storm?
Yes, sir.
The 2-hour storm has a smaller quantity. It uses the same bell-shaped curve that we use for a 24, which is a much smaller volume. It will have a less impact. Now, we're using 24-hour storm, which usually gives you a higher rainfall event, and your peak will be significantly higher than typically for a 2-hour storm. So that's why the DEC uses the guidance for a 24-hour storm.
Joe, do you make any distinction between summer and winter? Because the trees make a significant difference in terms of the amount of overflow. In the summer, half the water is going to be absorbed by the trees and a quarter by the ground and a quarter runoff. But in the winter or the fall, if you have a big rain like we did 2 or 3 years ago, it's significantly different in terms of runoff.
Yeah, we take that in consideration. We're actually using the numbers produced by the stream gauge, stream stats, which takes that in consideration.
Okay.
Just in the way of framing maybe a little bit why I'm asking these questions. I have had 2 friends up in the Catskills whose culverts were washed away during Sandy and then the subsequent storm that went through. I'm really quite sensitive to culverts not designed with pre-1960 precipitation events not being appropriate for the intensities that we're seeing now with climate change. And we're only going to see, I'm sorry, sir, you were going to say something, Joe?
No, it's good. Go ahead.
So, and as we see climate change, we're going to see more intensity of rain. When I was contacting the various academic institutions who are looking at this, they're putting together not charts like what I sent to you, but factors that can be applied to these numbers as the climate change occurs. In other words, 10 years ago, they expect, say, the number I'm hearing is 15% greater intensity. And then that goes on out further. The idea being that if we washed out 2 of my friends' driveways and they weren't able to get to their house, or the fire truck wasn't either, now that's only going to get worse in the future. That's why I'm asking these questions.
I agree with you, and we don't use the old rainfall curves, especially on a job like this. We use the new stream stats, which brings in the new models that came out of Cornell University, and we always use the latest HydroCAD programs that take these things into consideration, as Peter's office does, and we do the same thing. We're always staying on top of the newest data that comes out, which changes. as you said, as the weather changes. So the storm events we used 10 years ago, we're not using the same methodology today. It's continually changing year after year. It's actually a lot of stuff to stay on top of. So in this, we use the new stream stat data for this site.
Joe, can you also talk to the fact of a box, the structure, the integrity of a box culvert versus you had the arch culvert? Is there a significant difference in its ability to sustain what Mr. Maddox is talking about in terms of much larger water flow?
No, it's a arch culvert, which is out of CMP. Once it's constructed, is very strong if it's compacted properly. The reason I chose a box culvert concrete was for ease of installation and to minimize the disturbance time to the stream where we're at, not because it's better specifically than an arch culvert. An arch culvert, when constructed properly, and then you put the proper bedding, usually you put 2 anchors on either side to hold it down and strap it down. When constructed properly, and we've done many of these instances, they hold up to the 50 and 100-year storm quite well. Again, I chose the concrete because it is sturdy, but more for ease of construction, and we can go in less dewatering time, so we can dewater quickly, have the thing excavated, drop it in place after we put the stone down and backfill in a rather quick manner versus the time it would take to bolt the culvert together and install it and then backfill slowly.
Okay,
that's the only main reason.
Well, the other thing too is, I think, Joe, most of the other culverts right in this area that cross existing driveways, I mean, I would say what, they're 18, 24 inches maybe.
Yes, they're 24 or smaller. Yeah.
You know, they were installed back in the 80s before probably anybody even thought about doing any kind of calculations.
Absolutely.
So, I mean, you know, if we got a 25-year storm or a 100-year storm, you know, my guess is this particular like driveway might be the last one standing.
Yeah, I hope not, but you're probably correct. Another reason we chose the box culvert, which I don't want to skip past, was arch culverts are very good culverts to build, but they have a tendency of the centroid or the center mass where the water is will be higher than the centroid on my box culvert. But I could not get an arch culvert that was 10 by 2. It would have to be 6 by 4, thus raising the water elevation higher. And what my goal was to keep the water elevation low so we're not backing it up upstream. And the best way to accomplish that is with a low profile culvert. And the only structural way to get a 10-foot by 2-foot low profile culvert is with a concrete. A arch pipe could not do that without it being, even if we did 10 feet wide, it would be 4 or 5 feet high, but you put 2 of them next to each other. That wasn't a driving force in the decision, but when I had the decision of quick in and out, ease of construction, and lower the water elevation as low as I could get, that pointed to using a box culvert.
Okay, good. Thank you.
I'd like
Mr.
to add
Sweet?
something. In light of the pictures on 17 Stoutenburg and 15 Stoutenburg with, I think I heard you say smaller pipes back then, maybe 24-inch pipes, I think somebody said.
Yes.
Versus the bigger pipe.
Yes.
I've lived in the neighborhood actually for 25 plus years, so I guess that qualifies me as the 25-year storm. And we've had at least a couple of hurricanes, and I drive by every single house on Stoutenburg daily. And in the last hurricane, I never saw any flooding across these driveways of any magnitude during the last hurricane on number, because I knew them well. They've since moved. 17 Stoutenburg, I know that property pretty well. You could see some water in the height of that last hurricane running kind of right over the driveway, but not enough to prevent passage by any means. So like I said, I live here. A picture's worth 1,000 words. So in my 25 plus years, I've never seen flooding on any of those streets with the existing culverts of any issue. I thought I'd throw that out as a non-engineer.
Thank you.
And Mr. Sweet, if I may.
Yes, go ahead.
And I'm not an engineer either. I made these calculations, 40 years ago when I was at Virginia Tech, but we did it with the slide rule. So Joe has much more sophisticated equipment available at this time. But we've entered into a program with the cooperative extension, meaning the town, with Cornell Cooperative Extension, to look at culverts all throughout the town. And evaluations are taking place of a vast number of culverts all throughout the town. So this is essentially walking our talk, looking at what we want to avoid problems before they become an issue. We don't want to wash any berm down into the wetlands and have to deal with the Army Corps of Engineers, and quickly build something so that people can get in and out of their home. So let's avoid that ahead of time. I think that's what's on everybody's mind.
I agree. I agree with you completely. And we want to work with the town engineer to make sure that what we build is going to be there for a long time and not cause anybody any problem upstream or downstream, and work with the local habitats so that we don't hurt any of that as well. That's our goal.
Thank you for your patience with my questions and my worries, but
Thank you for your concern, really, in bringing it forward.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, very good. Well, we seem to have all the right players here, and that is very reassuring to me. Besides the emails we've received from Mr. Maddox, Linda, have we received any others?
No, we have not.
Okay. And do we have any more comments from the zoning board? Questions?
No.
No.
Zoning officer,
No,
attorney?
Just a brief comment. I'd like to say that it's nice to see on the record a discussion of the erosion and sediment control permits with the town engineer and the zoning administrator, because often we will refer to these when we take up these variance applications. And I just want to point out to everyone involved that the town does take this seriously and apply a rigorous standard, which we are seeing right now. So that's all I have to say. Applicant, please keep us appraised with any updates as you have been.
Absolutely.
Okay. So, all right. And I'm glad to see that we're going to be having happy wildlife because in the prior application, we're going to end up with happy chickens. So we're sticking right to the script. Don't know if there's anything more that we need to do, anything that's outstanding. Does anyone can think of anything that we haven't covered that we should be covering?
No.
Okay. Well, I guess we can move ahead then.
But Mr. Chairman, this public hearing will continue. Is that correct?
I think it's going to be over.
Okay.
Unless we got something more to talk about. And I just heard a big silence.
If I could just get on the record.
Yes, do.
Pete, you don't anticipate any significant changes to the plans from what we have right now?
No.
Good. I had made that note, and I'm glad you brought that up, Patrick. So,
Do we have to continue the public hearing, or can it be closed?
no, I think we're through. I don't see any reason to continue it. We've got all the information we need. Yes, go ahead, Rich.
Make a motion to close the public hearing.
Well, I'll ask for that in just a moment. I just want to
Okay.
do things in sequence here. Been chastised for that before. So my little speech, that the ZBA will accept public comments until 10 days following the close of the public hearing. They should be sent to ZBA Secretary at 4383 Albany Post Road, Hyde Park, New York, or emailed to zbasec@hydeparkny.us. In order to address the variance being sought, the public hearing will need to remain open until the design for the culvert. Oh, I know. Nope. That doesn't need to be said. Let me get that out of here. My speech is a work in process, folks. So, and for anyone who's watching or participating, because we're doing this on Zoom and people don't have the opportunity to say, oh, I just thought of something, let me stand up and say it. You can't, you're not here. So we have to keep the public comment period open for some period of time just to deal with that. And that's what I was saying a moment ago about comments received until 10 days following. So now, Rich, may I have a motion to close the public hearing?
I'd like to make a motion to close the public hearing.
Okay, just a
Second.
moment. Just a
Member
moment.
Brandon.
You got it,
Okay.
Jim.
And Jim McNary, Jim, Jim Harris.
Oh, that's no.
Hey, Jim, you're looking better all the time.
Listen, after 60 emails on just zoning board stuff today, I'm slightly bedazzled, so. May I have a roll call on closing the public hearing?
Brendan Lawler,
Yes.
Rich Perkins,
Yes.
Dave McNary,
Yes,
Jim Agrawal,
Yes.
Herbert Sweet,
Yes.
motion carried.
Okay, so the next big event will be our next meeting, January 27th, where we expect to have a resolution. Unless we're all in the hospital with COVID.
Not planning to be.
Our next application.
Can I say something before that?
Oh, yes, sure.
I want to thank the board, and particularly I want to thank the town engineer for working with me on this, because it was very helpful in getting the project to where we presented tonight. So I just want to thank everybody.
and Joe, thank you for responding to all the questions that have come to you too. They've been helpful. Your clarification has really helped.
Excuse me.
Have a good holiday, guys.
Thank you.
I don't think we
Good
could
night.
have done
Thank you.
all this without email and Zoom and what have you.
I agree.
We'd be here till next year. Okay, oh, that's not that far away, is it? Okay, our next application is Howard Minzer, 26 Mountain View Road, Statsburg. This is a variance of 108 4.3 G2 to allow for physical improvements within the stream corridor, changing from 100 feet to 0 feet for pond improvements on two particular parcels, which are identified. And ooh, let me make a note. I got to correct something here. In the Greenbelt District. Okay, and just to note that similar to the last application, there's other permits required, but they're not prereq. They're run in parallel. And of course, they all have to be approved. So I spoke to Mr. Andros offline, and he advised that the northern driveway is going to be an unpaved path for the purpose for accessing the pond for maintenance. And the path to the southern driveway on the rear lot was chosen to take advantage of the high ground and avoid the flood-prone areas. A customized map to the detail of 1-foot contours, along with extra surveying, was used as the basis for the driveway path chosen. The existing flagpole portion of the rear lot is unusable for access to the rear lot. Is on reaching the rear lot, you're going to find that you've reached a flood-prone area, which is not going to be very heartwarming. So easements will be needed for the common driveway, the construction and maintenance of the new southern driveway, and for the spill pipe from the pond discharging back in the Indian Kill. In last-minute correspondence, Mr. Andros advised that the culvert will be built to standards written to accommodate aquatic wildlife movement. So may I have a motion to, my notes may be incorrect. Didn't we have this public hearing opened already?
I think so.
Okay, then we're going to make that to continue the public hearing.
Move.
And who made that movement?
McNary.
Okay, and a second?
Second.
Good, Brendan. And roll call, please.
Brendan Lawler,
Yes.
Richard Perkins,
Yes.
David McNary,
Yes.
James Agrawal,
Yep.
Herbert Sweet,
Yes.
motion carried.
Okay, Mr. Andros is here and he can enlighten us with the latest news.
Well, the latest news is that the culvert that's shown on the most recent plan is that indeed the one that's going to be used. It's you've had that discussion with Joe Berger earlier, so that's really great about a corrugated metal arch pipe. Whereas I would have preferred to use a box culvert concrete. There's going to be issues, construction issues associated with that. It's going to be very difficult to move those heavy concrete sections to the site, and so therefore we've chosen the corrugated metal arch pipe, and it's quite large because we are going to be operating under a nationwide Army Corps of Engineers permit, nationwide 29. I did provide the board today with the language in that nationwide permit with regard to new culverts and how they are to be designed and what they are to accommodate with regard to the existing stream channel with the 2-year design storm for that stream channel width. And it really kind of stops there, except there's a note in the nationwide 29 special conditions for New York State that speaks to the issue of that there should be obviously a detailed engineering design for the culvert, which the client has already paid me for. I have put the design information on the plan with regard to the hydraulics and the anticipated flood elevations. And what it works out to be is like in the case with Mr. Berger earlier, you don't want to back the water up past the north property line, which is the upstream property line. So that's what I use for design. I didn't want to increase it more than what was shown for the flood elevation from FEMA. So that's about it. We've kind of talked about it before. There was another bit of information that Joe went through, really, and that is that you have to bury since it's a culvert with a bottom, you have to bury the culvert 20% of the height of the culvert, and then you have to line it with material that's similar to the stream bed. And you're also supposed to, or not supposed to, you also have to maintain the slope of the stream bed. So that will allow for the aquatic life in the stream to pass through. Actually, you could probably walk through it yourself without bending over too much because it's 75 inches high. So in any event, that's it. We've talked about the location of the driveway to the rear lot and why it is where it is. I've provided the ZBA with and the ZBA attorney with the 2 easements that were requested. One for the driveway across lot 2. For lot 16, and the other for the basically for the outlet pipe for the pond that goes over onto lot 16, which would be benefited by lot 2. So I'd say that's about it. I don't have anything else to add. Any
Peter,
comments?
a question you earlier referred to The stream cannot be spanned. The culvert width shall be a minimum of 1.25 times width of the stream channel at ordinary high water or a 2-year design storm.
Right,
I'm
exactly.
confused by that because we've been talking about 25 years and 100 years.
Well, no, the width of the culvert,
Yeah,
the width,
right.
has to basically be able to handle the 2-year design storm without going over the stream banks. And that's why I chose the arch pipe, because as Joe said, it's a lot wider down at the bottom. And when you bury this thing a little bit, not a little bit, it's 15 inches below the stream bed. What you come up with is a width of the culvert, which when you put a 2-year storm through it, doesn't exceed the normal high water mark of the stream. It's very difficult in this particular case to determine where the ordinary high water mark of the stream is. So I used the alternative, which was the 2-year design storm.
Okay.
So but then, I talked to Pete Sotero about it, and again, it's shown on the plan with regard to the hydraulic calculations. I just jumped over to the 100-year storm.
Okay.
I really didn't because that's the one that I was concerned about.
Okay.
With regard to upstream flooding.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Okay, so any other board questions? No? Okay. One thing I just noticed, which is just tangential, Pete, I noticed in getting educated by watching the plans for the Holt application, they're putting a pipe through, which they can snake the utilities through for the house that they plan to build. If you ever plan to put a house back there, you may not want to drill a hole.
Yeah, that's true. But it could just remember that in this particular area, you can go with overhead.
Okay. Tangential. Okay.
Yep.
Okay. So, any comments from the attorney at this point?
Just to say that we had discussed previously having the recordation of 2 easements as a condition. The applicant has sent in drafts of those. Because we're lawyers, we're going to mark them up and go back and forth a bit, but we're moving forward on that.
3, isn't it?
Right now, it's going to be 2. There are 2 documents that covers everything in the project.
Okay.
Patrick, when do you anticipate that being completed? Within the next 30 days?
Frankly, it depends on how quickly we get responses going back and forth. But in any event, it can still be a condition of approval. Should the board decide to approve this.
Okay, very good. Okay, so we've discussed everything that I can think of. Haven't heard any words from our town engineer. He's been sitting quietly.
I reviewed Pete's plan, and Pete does a good job as always. And, the calculations, as he said, show that there's not going to be any increase in the peak water elevation at the northern property line. So, similar to the last application, there are some details, small details that we'll have to work out during the soil and erosion control permit process. But, once again, they don't have anything to do with the variance application right now.
Okay, very good. Okay. Neil, is there anyone from the public waiting to speak on this application?
No, there's not.
Okay. And Linda, have we received any correspondence?
No, we have not.
Okay. Okay. Well, other than the fact that both engineers are both named Pete, we've managed to keep them separate and get through this process pretty well, I think. I think we can wrap this up. Let me adjust my notes so I'm not wondering what I did. Just hang on just a second. The ZBA will accept public comments until 10 days following the close of the public hearing. They should be sent to ZBA Secretary at 4383 Albany Post Road, Hyde Park, New York, or emailed to ZBA at zbasec@hydeparkny.us. Just a moment. I write as I speak. So may I have a motion to close the public hearing?
Motion.
Second,
Jim Agwell motions, Dave McNary seconds, and the poll is?
Brandon Lawler,
Yes.
Richard Perkins,
He's muted.
Or sleeping.
Maybe both.
Both. Yes.
David McNary,
yes.
Jim Agrawal,
Yes.
Herbert Sweet,
Yes.
motion carried.
Okay, well, next month we should have a resolution. As good as I can predict the future. So we'll see you then.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you very
Have a
much.
good holiday, everybody.
You too.
Thank you, Peter.
Okay. So we have a new application.
I think I'm done, right, Herb?
Yeah, right. You are done, Pete.
Okay.
Thank
Okay.
you, Pete.
Right.
Thanks for coming.
Have a good night.
Merry Christmas, everybody.
Okay,
go.
bye.
Did you get my present?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
All right. Thanks.
Okay, a new application from Robert and Rachel Bramer. 233 Mills Cross Road, Statsburg, really Hyde Park. Variance from section 108.5.15, changing the side yard setback from 25 feet to 16 feet for construction of an addition. This is in the Greenbelt District. May I have a motion to open the public hearing?
So move.
Second.
Dave motions, Rich seconds, and the vote is?
Brandon Lawler,
Yes.
Rich Perkins,
Yes.
David McNary,
Yes.
Jim Agrawal,
Yes.
Herbert Sweet,
Yes.
carried.
And I see Mrs. Bramer here. So, hello? Keep your doggy at bay and give us a little refreshing on your project.
We have a existing deck out back that we want to instead make an enclosed space of 16 by 16.
Neil, could you bring up? There he is. Okay, we see your sketch, and you can see I've marked it up. At the time you made it was 18 feet. You'd forgotten the overhang. It's really 16 feet. Little technical details in the zoning business. So we see what you're doing. At least I do. Can I ask the board of members, anybody have any questions?
I do not.
No.
Okay. Okay. Any comments from the zoning officer
No.
and the attorney?
No.
No. As you can see, Mrs. Bramer, your project is a lot simpler than what we just went through.
Yes.
Okay.
You're sure you don't want to put a culvert in this?
I'm pretty sure. Pretty sure.
Yes.
I don't want to add a driveway, go over a stream. Nope.
If you were beside a babbling brook, you'd probably be babbling too. So I think what we're going to do is close the public hearing, but first my comments. The public can see the detail of the application by examining the plans, which are at the town hall, at the planning and zoning office. The ZBA will accept public comments until 10 days following the close of the public hearing. They should be sent to ZBA Secretary at 4383 Albany Post Road, Hyde Park, New York, or emailed to zbasec@hydeparkny.us. May I have a motion to close the public hearing?
So moved.
Motion, Jim Agarwal.
Dave McNary motions and a second. And Jim Agarwal seconds. And Linda, poll the board.
Brendan Lawler,
Yes.
Rich Perkins,
Yes.
Jim Agrawal,
Yes.
Dave McNary,
Yes.
Herbert Sweet,
Yes.
motion carried.
So we expect to have a resolution at our next meeting, January 27th. And you can watch or come.
Okay, great. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Nice holiday, everybody.
You too.
Okay.
Thank you too.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Okay, our next applicant is Scott McClements. And this is a variance from 1085.15, changing a side yard setback from 10 feet to 8 feet for replacing and enlarging a shed in the neighborhood district. And may I have a motion to open the public hearing?
So moved.
Dave
Second.
McNary motions and Brendan Lawler seconds. And Linda, poll the board, please.
Brendan Lawler,
Yes.
Rich Perkins,
He's still
Yes.
muted.
I have a dishwasher running. That's why I keep muting this thing.
Oh, we appreciate that. Go ahead.
Dave McNary,
Yes.
James Agrawal,
Yes.
Herbert Sweet,
Yes.
motion carried.
And I have to make a disclosure that I know the applicant, but not that well. So it's not going to make any difference how I conduct myself this evening, which is barely respectable. So, Mr. McClements, can you describe your project to the board?
Sure. Can you hear me?
Yes,
Yep.
we can.
Okay, great. Good evening, everybody. Thank you for your service. So the plan here is just to put in a new shed into the location of an existing shed. So in 2002, I previously applied for a variance. The setbacks happened to be much larger then. But I currently have an 8x12 shed, and I want to replace that with a 12x24 shed. So all the same reasons for applying for the variance previously are still in play. It's taking advantage of the flat spot in the land, moving it out of the way of my septic tank and, other things. And in addition, since then, a fence has been erected by the neighbor closest to that property line where the variance is, where I'm applying for this variance. So there's a 6-foot high fence in that location as well. So I think it's still the proper place for the shed and takes advantage of the natural terrain and everything else. So I don't think there's anything else more I could say about that.
Is the new shed much higher than the existing shed?
The new shed is 10 feet tall, and what is the existing shed? It's probably, I don't have the exact dimension on hand, but it's probably like 7. So it's probably 3 feet higher.
Okay.
Okay, very good. All right. I think I understand that well enough. Do any other board members have any questions?
No.
No.
Okay. Comments from the zoning officer? Hello?
No.
And an attorney?
Just to say that, like most of our residential applications, it doesn't require a review under seeker or to go to county planning.
Thank you.
Yep.
Okay. In that case, I think we can wrap things up. Sorry, we can't chat more, Scott.
I just want to say that when I applied for that variance in 2002, I was over at town hall at 11:30 at night. So this is much better.
Yes.
I was like
11:30 at night. Yeah.
You were like, I don't even know how that happened. I remember being there because I remember like entering into record that it was like past my bedtime or something. But
We used to do special permits back then, and that took a lot of time, and that kept us there way past bedtime.
Yeah,
I've been
was
very,
crazy.
very, very, very happy that the planning board does that now. Okay. So you don't need one of those. So we're going to close down. I don't see any reason to stay open to discuss this building. The public can see the detail of the application by examining the plans, which are at the town hall at the Planning and Zoning Office. The ZBA will accept public comments until 10 days following the close of the public hearing. They should be sent to ZBA Secretary at 4383 Albany Post Road, Hyde Park, New York, or emailed to zbasec@hydeparkny.us. I don't recall if I asked, but have we received any public comments?
No, we have not.
And there's no one else here that wants to speak on this.
Correct.
Okay, good, good. Let me just make a note to put that in. Okay, so may I have a motion to close the public hearing?
I make a motion.
Brendan motions, second,
Second.
and Jim Agrawal seconds, and poll the board, please, Linda.
Brendan Lawler,
Yes.
Richard Perkins,
Yes.
David McNary,
Yes,
James Agrawal,
Yes.
Herbert Sweet,
Yes.
motion carried.
So we are expecting to have a resolution at our January 27th meeting, and we will see you then, if you care to come.
Thank you.
thank
Okay.
you.
Okay, bye-bye. And 73,
I know what that means.
and the rest of them don't. Ham radio talk, folks. So you can see my equipment behind me. That's what that's all about.
Yeah, mine as well. See, you got ham radio equipment.
He does. Is that the ham? Does that mean the ham is half baked?
No.
No, it does
Fully.
not. Fully licensed. Okay, our next applicant is Pauline Yo, or well, I'm going to be corrected on that one, I'm sure.
You know,
I can't pronounce a three letter name properly. You? Okay. We will find out. This is a variance from section 1084.3 G2, changing an undisturbed stream corridor from 100 feet to 75 feet in the neighborhood district. Do we do anything else besides stream corridors? Do we have an applicant present or representative?
Dave Stewart had emailed me and said that he would be representing Ms. Yu, and he has not signed in.
Did you send him a link, Neil?
Herb?
Yes.
Yes, I did. Of course I did.
All right. Okay. I lose track of what's going on. I need all you folks to help me out. Well, it's a shame that he can't be here, but I think we see what we see.
is it, Mr. Chairman, is this the? This is not the gazebo issue. This is the generator issue. Is that correct?
The gazebo issue was withdrawn.
Okay.
That was the.
Okay. So this is Pauline Yu.
This is Pauline Yu, and
okay.
She wants to put a generator, as you can see where it's shown in the diagram, which was just produced today, and they're showing that it's 75 feet from the stream, and not 100, and so they need a variance.
It looks like the whole house is within the 100 foot.
Oh, yeah, well, sure it is.
That's what I thought.
A lot of these structures were built long before we had corridors, and particularly in that part of town. So we just have to deal with that. So this one reminds me very much of the Hughes G application with the deck between the existing porches. Here's the generator snuggled in between shapes, similar shape for the house, but it's 75 feet from the Crum Elbow Creek, so needs a variance. I don't know, I was kind of expecting to see a representative here this evening. I don't think he could be telling us anything we haven't seen already. Mr. Attorney, can we proceed without the representative, or what's the story there?
I'd say that since we received a complete application and there's actually been a back and forth with the representative on making sure the application shows what's supposed to show, that we can set a public hearing. However, we should try to reach out to the applicant to get them to present at the public hearing as well.
Entirely reasonable. Okay, so do we have any questions from the board?
No.
No.
Zoning officer?
No.
Okay. So we will set the public hearing. The public can see the details of the application by examining the plans, which are at the town hall and at the planning and zoning office. The ZBA will accept public comments until 10 days following the close of the public hearing. They should be sent to ZBA secretary.
We don't know where this is located. What's the address?
In case anybody's wondering, this is 62 East Market Street. Public comments can be accepted until 10 days following the close of the public hearing. They should be sent to ZBA Secretary, 4383 Albany Post Road, Hyde Park, New York, or emailed to zba.sec@hydeparkny.us. May I have a motion to set the public hearing for January 27th?
I make a motion.
Brenda makes a motion, and Rich Perkins seconds it. And Linda, poll the board.
Brendan Lawler,
Yes.
Rich Perkins,
Yes.
David McNary,
Yes.
James Agarwal,
Yes.
Herbert Sweet,
Yes.
motion carried.
Okay, thank you. And as mentioned earlier, the Pinoli application was withdrawn.
Could I ask a related question?
Sure.
It so happens I'm familiar with East Market Street. Does the county have to do anything when it infringes upon our 100-foot stream corridor? The county road, and a good portion of it's in the county, in that 100 feet.
Oh, Rich, are you asking whether or not the county would need to apply for a variance if they were constructing within the corridor?
If they were to enlarge the road, or
you know what, that gets into a very interesting discussion of whether or not certain governmental entities are immune from other entities' zoning. And I can tell you all about that offline if you'd like.
Sure, that'd be nice.
Okay.
Okay.
The town has dealt with it before.
And there's no 239M because this is residential. That's correct? No, okay. To the folks that don't know what that means 239M in this case means we'd have to see what the county thinks, and that's a requirement for commercial applications. So, okay, we have a final item here. We have to make a motion to release the escrow for the Verizon tower application at Anderson. That was $278.50.
Would so move, sir.
And Dave McNary makes the motion, and the second.
Second.
And Brendan Lawler seconds. Okay, Secretary, poll the board.
Brendan Lawler,
Yes.
Richard Perkins,
yes.
David McNary,
Yes.
Jim Agarwal.
Yes.
Yes.
Motion
Is
carried.
there any further business? We're getting down to the nitty gritty here.
To wish everybody a happy holiday and a safe one.
Absolutely.
Same here.
I'm going to say very safe. I'm going to stay right here, except for Zoom. I can't catch any colds that way. Okay, folks. So we come to the end of it. Yes, Ted.
I just would like to thank Linda for her service to the board. This is the last meeting that she will be presiding at, or not presiding, but taking the notes for. And I'd like to thank her very much.
Cheers.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Linda.
Thank you, Linda.
Thank you, everybody, and
Congratulations.
Maybe we can take you out for dinner and drinks in the spring sometime post-COVID or summer.
Yeah. You're
Sounds
on.
good. Sounds good to me. Thank
Yeah,
you.
I'd like to do that.
Yeah.
Happy holidays, everybody.
Bye,
Thank you.
everybody.
You too.
Thank you, Ted.
Okay. So no further business. I may have a motion to adjourn.
No.
Make a motion.
Brenda makes a motion. Do I may have a second? And Jim makes a second. And Linda is your final act. The Zoom meetings, you can see if anybody wants to stay here by himself. Would you poll the board, please?
Sure. Let's see, Brandon Lawler,
Yes.
Richard Perkins,
Yes.
David McNary,
No.
Always the wise guy.
Jim Agrawal,
Yes.
Herbert Sweet.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Motion carried.
Have a
Exactly.
great holiday, everyone.
You too. Everybody stay safe.
Everybody.